Yellow. It's the video about the LA fires and whatnot. So basically, I'm making this video. I'm doing school right now, working on my entrepreneurship, whatever esque idea here. A video about the LA fires, not brought to you by like bandits or whatever. But here we go. So I'm going to go look at the streams of the literal LA fires and compare to what is going on here. Southern California. I live in San Diego currently. My watch face is broken, everything. So we're near the election, everything it's kind of slowing down. It's doing whatever it wants. I'm tired as hell. So yeah, let's go and take a look at the LA fires. And then we will do the thing we need to do, which is look at the current situation. Oh, so as you can see, my screen went and messed up or something. So basically, while we're looking at the screen, and I don't know if the screen here is even displaying my particular stream at all. So we'll have to check it out right now. Let's see if maybe we'll give it feedback. Oh, it looks like it's working just fine. Okay. So there we are. We're back at the screen. Okay. So let's go look at the LA fires here in San Diego, California. That's where I'm located, even though it says results for Los Angeles. So let's look at the LA fire. You're turning in right here around 11 o'clock, almost 6 minutes to 11. And then if you don't know, this is a personal blog, not a vendetta to streamline any conversation about LA, like, give sensitive information and some sort of like, seek revenge or like, get a vendetta out of your life. You know what I'm saying? Joking, obviously. We live in California. California rules in the California world of the California, team. So, okay. So live LA fire updates faces more fire weather next week as residents inspect devastation. Obviously, the best title, but as many as 11,000 people will be able to return home as crews continue to get a battle or handle on the fires that started during an extreme wind event on January 7th. But another round of fire weather could last for much of next week by Los Angeles Times, the staff there. So 49 minutes ago, 12 hours of fire that decimated Tenda or Edina. I'm going to lose half of my town. Firefighters make significant progress on contaminated of wildfires as recovery efforts continue 1 hour ago. And then 1 hour ago, Trump to visit LA in first official trip, as sources say. So, okay, so this is what the fire is going down to. If they've updated these numbers, I literally, I don't know. So Pasadena's fire containment of the fire was 43% contained at 7 a.m. Saturday morning. It was burned 23,000 acres and 713. Okay, damage officials have confirmed 3,856. That's almost 4,000 structures that have been destroyed and 624 damage with totals to rise. Lives lost. Officials have confirmed that 10 people are dead from the Pasadena's fire. So it's not extreme, but I was reading an article last night. Around 1,000 people have literally died from the fire, or I mean, they may die from the fires. So from different various reasons, which are like health related or construct the issues with the flow in California. So hold on one second. So it is some sort of issue here, the LA fires. So, and again, LA, I mean, the reaches of Southern California, it doesn't really work as though you might think. It's a yeah, I mean, it's from there to there. So I mean, it's not as constructural. The economy doesn't really connect. But basically, this is the next steps. To make sure this fire is safe. They're trying to do what they can do. So containment, the fire was 73% contained as 7 a.m. Saturday morning. It was burned 14,000 acres. That's a fire. Damage of almost 10,000, and then 1,000 damaged or destroy 1,000, almost 10,000 destroyed, almost 9,000, and then about 1,000 damaged. Expected to rise. So 3 hours ago, is uncharted territory as fire weather returns all next week. So yeah, I mean it's something else, and then we can look at the damage cost um, of the Los Angeles LS fires here, and let's look at it here. California Fair Plan, the home issuer. Let's just work. Yeah, and so a lot of the insurance instructors don't even seem to care, I so to speak. Care about the fires here. So yeah, I mean, they cover it. Probably not. I mean, like they've already canceled a lot of insurance coverage. I mean, I don't work at the insurance agency, so I can't tell you. But I mean, with the cost of the homes, their company wouldn't technically be able to hold up somewhat. So I mean, they'd be able to fulfill like certain requirements, like percentages, like any other insurance agency. It just probably goes down to like their planning and mapping of it. But I mean, with like more than a $2 million home, it's definitely difficult to insure, especially in the United States or a market that depends on you know insurance rates set the way they are. I mean, it would be much higher if they were decent insurance. I mean, like any gimmick, like you buy like a $5 insurance for like a $20 electronic. I mean, will you hear insurance, like go through that for that? I'm probably not. I mean, you probably have to go to a warranty and they'll probably give you a run around and all some sorts of games. You know what I'm saying? So, same for like something like bicycle insurance. They'll probably, I mean, pay off money to do the thing. I mean, you need to do it at a high rate, probably. But so, I mean, nah, it is what it is. I mean, look at the cost of the damage of the Los Angeles fires in dollars. Let's look at. Okay, here we go. Between 250 billion and 275 billion, private forecaster AccuWeather estimates total damage and economic loss between 250 to 275 billion, which can make LA fires the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history, surpassing Hurricane Katrina in 2005. So I mean, that's crazy. I'm not a hurricane, just LA fires. So I mean, that's the gist of that. So I mean, that's kind of tough. I mean, I would say that's what I would consider tough. Doesn't sound too great, basically. So I mean, yeah, I mean that is what that is. I mean, you can't really complain. I mean, like you look at the news. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Bear with me now. I'm not sure if my screen is going to capture this. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's capturing it right now. I don't think there's any way it would capture it. But actually, I could check. Let's see if I can log into my YouTube one more time. Oh, oops. So I mean, 250 billion. That's quite some amount. I mean, there's not a house that's worth that much here. In the what is called like area, there's a $250 billion house. There's no million, like like $500 house. So it is bothering, about anybody who would who needs to do things. So there's that. So let me see if my screen will load here. Mm, no, it does not seem to load any application. That's like enough apps. Okay, so yeah, so this is the fires here. About the fires, I mean, more or less. I mean, we got the election coming up. It's a hazard already. So I mean, it's questionable from my point of view. I mean, would someone from another country set this fire to like what is, I don't know, fuck the environment. I mean, like, harm people. I mean, like, I live in a democracy. I live in liberty. I live in freedoms. I mean, like, the bully in this situation would be like, some random dude who's like, from a kingdom. Like, they live in a king or like they live in a queen. I mean, like, normally, I mean, that's what my liberties, say, like, I don't do. Those people don't believe in democracy like we do. But I mean, otherwise, I mean, an islander with like a fucked up attitude and is like, fuck you. I'm not going back to the island in hurricane season. I don't literally know a lot of people who would wreck 250 billion. A serial killer maybe, if you know anything about that. But I mean, that's that. So I mean, That's the gist of the LA fires right here. And I have like other stuff I could show right now, like, who's who and who's what in the political sphere, or like, who do I like and who do I not like, or like, what's this idea about like what you are and who you are. I'm just checking. But that's the LA fires. I mean, so the gist of it is the LA fires, I mean, like they maintain quite some commerce there. I mean, the LA is, it's like the incel membrane to like, the area of California. I mean, so yeah, next. I mean, we've had fires before in California. I mean, they're not good. They ruin agriculture. They ruin places to live. They ruin a lot. So, yeah, it's some issues there. So there's that. So okay, there's that. So let me, for 1 second, I'm going to go over to my podcast here, and it's not related to this. And again, this is more of a like classic, like sorting all of the angles out in life. If you get me. Angles. I go with angles like it's more like, what's this angle over here? What's this angle? Like what is this angle on YouTube this guy has? Like he's abnormal. His like gist on like, his screenshot for like the camera's like, this is me right now, open mouth. Like I'm like fucking in the moment, right? So basically, and I'm not like, like BSing you or like saying like you can't do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Like for me, I live in liberty, freedom, democracy. Like I'll sign that with a V, like V Day, like sign with a V. I'll sign it twice if I had to. Sign. But the point, like, of whatever I'm saying is like, be polite, be courageous in this, like, term endearment of the fires. So I'm saying like a normal person would. But let's go over to my podcast, anyways, because I just felt like fucking putting it together. So basically, this is my podcast. It's M2I Logistics. It's a cybersecurity review. It's more for academic purposes, but it is also on a price for streaming. So I do get like, cents on the dollar for whatever stream gets this. This is a business like concentrated in plans here. So basically, I put it on the streaming platform because it didn't exist anywhere else. I was like, why the fuck not? So like, this is it. So it cost me like $10 to put an album or song up per. And then like if I got an agent to fucking like, throw it like up into the idea of like, whoever like manages like media in the world, like, oh, like I got this fucking great podcast here with a whole fucking URL you can use. So that's what I put it together right there. And it's been up for like since November. So let's go for this. So M2I Logistics, LCX in action, security and logistics through inclusive training and strategy. And what is that for? Protected people. And then I got sexual assault, hacking, and dating websites. That's for people who fucking hate online dating, because there's the hackers and they come over to your house and they do whatever with your body or whatever you want to bullshit you want to call it. Or we got like online food delivery. You like food delivered to your house, aka like your like food, your body stuff, your energy for your body. I got that too. A business plan. If you want to overthrow like the business, like fuck it. Like I'm the car driver. Like, I need to deliver like on my like fucking speed mobile of whatever, and I'm a psychology student, medical student, and like fuck no. Like you start your own business with your own people, man. If that's like the attitude, like I gotta put in like the environment I see in the business network, that's what I did. So and there's one other little surprise out there, and it's called drug free workplace essentials, which is only on streaming right now. And then you're like, Austin, why didn't you put this on archive.org? You're like, I'm going to when I have the fucking time. I'm so swamped with all of the things I have to do. And then like, let me stop you F right there. And I'll like double that, like Notion F, whatever. I have a 0 view count right now and 0, results here. So when you say like, one thing versus the other, I mean, this is what I'm saying. You got the fire 250 to 275 billion worth of damage. And that was posted like 3 or 4 days ago. Now it's the same, apparently. If it's better, it's worse. I have no effing idea. But the idea here is, the reality, 0 views. I mean, get off the VPN if you're using the VPN, or like, if you like have like streamlined one idea versus the other, maybe think about like how much power did you use in your computer or your laptop today? Okay, so like an MP3 player, not like a cell phone. Cell phone's more energy. MP3 player costs like $5 or 5 cents per like charge or something. I'm not sure. 3 hours to charge or something. Loud, right? Okay, so we got that like game going on here. So whatever BS little game that is, the BS game. Like I didn't do my fucking job right. Like the BS game. Like I believe like I can live here and shit like that. But I'm not saying like by work, anybody can just fucking not work, right? But like the work is like, the attitude of work. Like I can like touch disabled people because I can touch disabled people. I work as a counselor. I'll like I'm not like like gonna be like the one like a sour thumb out of the sour apple and the I stuck my thumb in like the place where all the people put their heads in and dunk for the apples. So I'm the person like you're gonna get the fuck off my property if you're gonna start like talking to people like who are disabled or like disadvantaged that way. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like not like proud citizens gonna say I'm just gonna like be like I'm gonna avoid the conversation. I'm gonna get behind you and then I'm gonna disable you. Like you're not going to be in this conversation of like harming more disabled people. You know what I'm saying? You're in the conversation of like you've taken it to a level here. Taking it down to your level of like whatever bullshit game like you had planned out. I mean like so like you say like you're the best in the world, you're the best cop in the world. I'm saying and you're like oh fuck it like they don't know what the fuck like I show up the 9 to 5 job and I say like I'm security, but you bullshit like don't do your security right. And like let's say like 250 billion damage has been done, it's not undone. You know what I'm saying? The reality of like zero view point and like count and say like like I counted all of the view counts over time. You know what I'm saying? For all the streaming services, like say it's on Peloton, say it's on like iTunes, say it's on like Apple Music, say it's on Spotify, say it's not on Pandora, obviously, but it's on iHeartRadio, right? So like say like it only accumulated like like 17 views or something. Some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So like we got like the sexual assault website, we got the podcast, my bad, on streaming and not on streaming, so podcast and not streaming, and then we got this little bullshit, and you're gonna like yeah, I don't think I fucking believe like, the etiquette, I'm seeing right now in my fucking bullshit mind or ideas or whatever game I'm playing. So you go on the social security platform, like how much money does this person make? Like 1 credit versus social security for their entire work history. You're like, what the fuck? Like they can't even request it. So I'm like, I'm the little guy here. I'm gonna defend the little guy. I'm gonna say like, well, whatever bullshit game like this is playing. I've started a registered business and everything like that. Um, I'll call bullshit. So, I mean, we could take a listen to one of the podcasts just to look at. We'll look at the best one, like one of the best. Like it might save the girl's life. Okay, and then that's the extent of it. I mean, you can technically do whatever bullshit game you want to do online or whatever bullshit. But I mean, this is now streaming. You know what I'm saying? So like now the polite like a conversation or the reality of the conversation is like who is who is the helper in the situation? I mean like the small person on the social security, they can take their like their paperwork and write like I don't like what's it called like DEA Act Smart, like we're like the state troopers of like the firemen, and they might go and might get better, might not get better. So like the thing, I'm trying to like not bullshit around in my game, the bullshit game. Like I'm not a heroin user. I don't use injectables. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like renaming the injectables Uncrustables, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And not coming with like snazzy name of like whatever bullshit world I live in. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not like serial like a counselor. I don't go to like people and go like like I'm your counselor now. Like I don't bullshit my way along like the life. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not that double hedric of like the world. I don't bullshit my way around things. I was like so I mean like when a normal person like does normal things in real life and they don't expect like do it with a penny, right? They don't expect to do it with the button battering, like like bullshit their way around things, right? Or like is it too sensitive now? Okay, so the reality of like the unjust or justice in the world. I mean, we got online food delivery here, and we can take a listen. Let's take a listen to it. Okay, so there we go in the literal sense of like chef world and not chef world. And so give it a moment, take it in. So let me show you the next little principle thing I have here, which is an actual published album. Um, and this goes back to the Michelin star. Here, anybody can have a Michelin count. Anyone could go to Michelin and say, "Well, I am the Michelin Techier or the Esca Michelin restaurateur who is going to be the critic today." Anybody can do it. Anybody can say it. It's based on liberty, democracy, and freedom. So when you say like you're pluralist, like you're checking something out, you're doing something, you follow the rules, you follow the communication skills, you follow etiquette in a way, which is sincere and endearing towards hope, heart, kinship, normal behavior of restaurateurs, like of cleanliness, of the reality of sanctity, safety, democracy. Yeah. So I created this little esque song, so it has the fork esque song, and then it has the you'll have to play it. It's called Bib Gourmand, as though the Bib Gourmand is the restaurateur business itself for good food at low price. So that's what it is. And then it has my name signed down there as line A, line B, table A, table B, and then trash, and then of course the fork. So the fork is significant. And if you've never watched the movie with Bradley Cooper, it's the soundness Michelin star restaurant chef tester of their food puts on the ground and then says, "Look, let me test the food." If you don't, follow the etiquette of the environment, whatever it might be, if you don't fit with the feng shui or flow of the business, yeah, maybe your restaurant won't have a chef to live another day. So there we go. So I have this, I have that. Out of the grammatical, whatever isn't in the bullshit world or isn't in the trash can, like going to the trash can to do whatever the trash can needs to do, right? Or fitting the third line, right? The imaginary line, going right through the economic business, right? And going out or going in or doing whatever, maybe going through the chef business, whatever. And excitement, right? So the reality in this, commerce or this world, this perspective, real world. I mean, you can boil water to get the vitamins called whatever powder is in it, and have white powder chips, right? Or you can blame the BTK killer or blame the serial killers, right? You have the country, there's the Golden State Killer. How many serial Zodiac Killer, right? But you got to ask yourself, what is the question today? What is going to keep me prepared for the moment? Is it, I'm a manager of a restaurant and I need to take my job seriously. I have to quit smoking weed, whatever game you got going on. Maybe it's you have to register that certificate to maintain your restaurant, which is your managerial, your restaurant sakes. I mean, you can carry it just for the fucking fun of it. A restaurant chef, certificate in the United States, that's all you need to do it, and it lasts for 5 years. That's like an hour test. Take it, proctor, take it. So there's that. And the reality of the conversation is what you need to do is real in this situation. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to carry a security guard license to impress people. You don't have to be impoverished, in this way. Like, you have to be, not fitting in or whatever. I mean, just jealousy, revenge, all these little things, right? The gestures, the indecencies, right? Well, you do have to get along with people. You have to accept, reality. It doesn't have to be a higher power, so to speak. It just needs to be, you know, input from other people, your community, right? These are all normal things, right? We don't go to other people and say, like, you believe in this king now. We don't believe that in the United States talk. It's treasonable activity. And it's not asking for too much in democracy at all. Um, so I don't think I need to explain myself. I speak English, right? You need to speak into these normal thoughts and tones, right? So there's that. So balance of liberty and freedom, right there. Justice for all, pursuit, happiness. All these normal thoughts. I used to write. Whether like it or not, I don't really tell people who I write for or who I've written for, but I used to write music. I used to know people technically, right? But the endearing thought there is what is your self-image, right, or your priority in that conversation? Say you want to keep on signing things off as like do the best every day, or you're categorized as somebody who can get the job done, right? We signed it off with a V for victory, right? V day for victory. You have to think about the counter optic, like there isn't somebody in the world who can unjustly find the most just things at all times, or the world would be just, right? The same way you can't find justice in a world without, endearment from, your community, your world, your earth. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you expect that self-image no matter where you go, where you say it doesn't take an article. I mean, it might take that research, right? But it does take that self-image. That self-image goes back to like Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, Skinner, and these people are psychologists, right? And then they talk about different self-images, that the life cycle with Erickson, who's a psychologist as well. It talks about those realities, right? But when you go from one reality and say it's a skeptical reality and association of like development, right, development theory, or social theory order, right? There's differences there. So there's one theory that particularly, it is, particularly a realistic theory, and it has to do with like, waiting or, closing the self-image and narrative form, which is like a social theory, right? Narrative theory. So that reality is about staging that ego or willpower you have into that development of self-image, right? That self-image is reflective of your society, your culture, your ideas, about the narrative of your community, right? The policy that you want to work with, right? Whether it's criminal justice, narrative of healthcare, of your surroundings. Maybe you want to be the chief of police someday, or you want to be a fireman. Those realities are your gallantry, right? Those are the white things that keep subject matter together. The literal substrate of like material science, right? Um, so when you look into those things, right? They're more than endearments. They're more than flipping the Joker card and saying like, enough is enough. It's about that policy, that politeness, that hold, the system together in a way. And it doesn't have to be criminal justice always. It can just be policy. Criminal justice is a very sparing subject, just like, getting a certificate in, peer support, which might take like several months or 6 months, maybe less. It's very similar to that, but it's more of the adjustment of, like, community-based practice and policy. That's all it is. So, when you look into that, resortment of, finding the science between the equilibrium or, natural science, whatever it is, there's that point in that midst that is about, finding resolution between you and your social surroundings or society. It might be that question of if you've had enough. I mean, it might be drugs, it might be, solicitation of, of finding that business issue or interest. And when I go back to that, I mean, there's a whole business side to it. I mean, taking advantage of a business is business tactic, right? But is it always right? It's sometimes dirty. You know what I'm saying? So the reality there is, business, etiquette, or that reality there. So when you take that moment to look into the idea of serenity, or compassion for subject matter or criteria, whatever fosterment it might be, might be exclusion from the community because maybe you're from Great Britain, arranged country or something like that. They did own 25% of the world in 1922. So you have to think about that empire strategy. Do a lot of people know about the history of England? They probably don't. Same as France, same as Russia, same as Italy, same as Greece. They don't just connect the dots, so to speak. The dashes, they don't put them together. So when you look at these realities, they're simple subject matters. So when you go back to that psychology, endearment, social theory, or narrative, right? It's about waiting. It's about waiting for that conclusion, waiting for that simplicity, waiting for that reason to live. And it's the same as that framework of or construct of that policy, right? And it doesn't take like a natural observer like Darwin or Darwinism to fundamentally clue yourself into that order, the policy of that theme. It's about the reality of doing what's right and wrong in that situation. It's being conclusive. If you know somebody that needs like community advantage, which is like maybe somebody who's disabled who needs to walk somewhere, you do the right thing. You do the thing as a concerning citizen. You do the freedom, the democratic thing there, which is value societal examination or example of thought right there. So not just going to PT, I mean, going to physical therapy, going to physical education for like a student, or going to physical training, somebody who might be PT for, police recruits or, police sheriff or whatever, fireman duty you might have to do, right? Or farm work. A farmer has to do the same thing as anyone else who must go working, so the reality there is that framework of the wait list, or that idea, that strategy you have to fit into your mind. The realities of a consciousness that's fitting for any human, for any natural competitor not to do it, it would be incomplacent. All right. So the reality is sobriety and all these normal things, right? Cleanliness, one thing. And then that reality check, right? So you might need to give it some time. You might need to think about that endearment, but they're all realities there. So that's kind of me taking that sign off there. So I mean, if you watched the whole video and you saw it's 0 for 0, and you're like, well, the potential of this is greater than that or greater than this, then maybe it says something. Maybe it says something to me. I need to write about a research article. And I'm like, I can do that. But it just takes time. You have to get that job. It's not always up to a student. Students just don't write research articles. You know what I'm saying? It's a competitive sport, academia, but it's about, comprise, qualifications, those normal things. Okay. So, the reality isn't, always fitting. It's not always, compassion versus compromise, right? Sometimes it's about that signatory. So, I mean, it goes down to body gestures. It goes down to a lot. It goes down to the framework of a business. Who makes what makes it, right? For a human body, I mean, the protection might be in the chest, right? I mean, you have to protect your vernacular. You have to protect your lungs, your support system, your CNS. Those things are connected to your body, right? You can't just put it out and expose yourself. So, I mean, the fire workers, the same way as like a pro wrestler. You don't, go straight for your chest cavity, right? I mean, that's your weakest point in your body. I mean, they'll collapse your body and you rupture your CNS, all of the components of your CNS, your organs. So just like the same as a boxer, right? You don't aim for, what you have in potential, right? I mean, if you must think about the kind of like some sort of Greek romanticist, right? But the human head is another qualifying point. I mean, don't go for what you can't survive, right? Treat others as you can or should be treated, right? That's the whole premise of like something like, if you look back at the history books of Geneva, the Geneva Convention, and that's what this watch is. Of course, it doesn't have a watch face on it, right? But the Looking Glass Committee, so to speak, is the reality there, right? And that's the endearment in psychology to look into interpersonality. It's the concept of collusion, right? So I mean, if you have a book, I mean, you can read about what's the book called? Robinson Crusoe? No, it's not that book. It's what's the book called? Treasure Island. I think it's Treasure Island. It's an old classic for kids. It's kind of like the book Lord of the Flies. That one's also kind of for kids. I mean, there's movies about them, yeah. But that Looking Glass Committee is the reality of assortment, of individuality, of self-image, self-proportionality. Finding yourself away from that one figure. Maybe you're not the lowest spender. Maybe you're not the biggest spender. Maybe you're not the most frugal spender, right? Normally you wouldn't spend any money on nothing, right? I mean, if you can't prove it to the self-image there, you can't prove it to literally anything. And that goes down to linguistics quotations, but still a framework. nevertheless. So when you compose letters in language, it kind of does that. So English, you might think one side I have the PowerPoint, I'm presenting it. It might be in font 36. They count them. How do they count it? They count it up to here, from the palm of your hand to the middle finger top, 36. And then how do they count 12, which is the font size? Or you have the font size 12 for your academia, and then you have font size 12 for your business, right? Very good. Personal use, I don't know, maybe 0, maybe not. But the palm for 12, it goes like this up to here, so it's 12. And then you go 36 is up to the middle finger, down. So when you think at the point size 12, it's 1/6 of an inch, right? An inch is this part right here. That's 1 inch, right? But the point there is it's structured like anybody would structure anything. I could show you something right now. Let me show you something. For a typeface binder, and I mean, not everybody knows this, but you might consider yourself, in the feng shui or the flow of writing or wanting to make a typewriting mill, right? Like say you're back in the day making a typewriter mill, you might use a fabric like this, and this is a Faraday cage, right? So the Faraday cage is actually used for stereotopic, graphing, things like that in a typewriter. It also blocks RFID signal. So if I were to wrap this around the computer, it would no longer have a signal because it's a Wi-Fi computer. So why is there so much self-image issues compared to this business? And you're like, well, there's an identity crisis there. There's a reality there. I'm going to take you into the side of my business here. And then this is the business I came up with. It's a souffle business. It's a pop-up business, meme business, right? And I'll show you the ad I put out, and I put it out right next to the local bank downtown. It's called I Love NYPD LLC. So, and I even put it up at the school library of a state university. I'm not going to that school, but I did it. I keep it behind this plexiglass. You know what I'm saying? So the more it gets close, the more you can see the paper. But in reality, it's not so clueless. It's not so hazardous. It's not unreality. So if you give it a moment to think about your politeness, your concrete, resistance. I mean, it might be 040 today. It might be the concrete, example of examination. Maybe somebody's too afraid to talk about their issues. Maybe the examination of particle accelerators aren't, the self-image, right? Maybe the reality isn't about human privacy, your own concern. You know what I'm saying? Self-image. But there's so much you could do in your time, and there's so much of a reality you can think about. I mean, examination, example, framework of conscientiousness. Say you have a research article about the heart, and you buy an graphic, stethoscope. Right? The reality is your proportional thinking, right? The proportional thinking might be the value of decency. And say you made a joke about the friendliness of having a touch sensor dipped in color. So you dipped one in color to look at the agnemic resistor, right? Which is the color yellow. What it do? It turns the color orange. Why? Because it's pink. But the reality is one touch is going to fix everything. So is the same example for say a notebook full of never stained examples of what your signature look like for your passport or some random thing. Right? What about the reality of not the imagrammic? What about the reality of self-label, self-image? Say you have the Scooby-Doo card with the 9 of diamonds. The reality there is the reality of anyone's choice. The reality is dogmatic. It's not to escape the future or the feats of reality. It's the nature of enagrammic thinking. Right? It's not code words. It's not the reality. And so, say you believe in democracy, you want to apply for the United States, citizenship, so to speak, and you're like, what does a social security card look like? And this is what the social security card thing looks like. It's paper, it's tossed in color, and it's dramatic, right? So basically, let's see if I'm looking for the right thing. You're like, oh, what does the passport look like? looks like this, a real envelope, right? Sometimes not, sometimes, yeah. So let's look for the paperwork I have. Oh, here we go. So this example, let's say, I mean, you're here, you're tossed in the moment, and it's never thought about like this, but let's say you believe in a king or queen, or your parents are serial killers, right? AKA the joke. Let's say your name is AJ Ziggy Human, and you are, up for counseling, right? You are the the recruit, the whoever. Oh, and this is my degree right here. So basically, AJ Ziggy Human, and I'm the agency staff. I heard example in this hypothetical situation. I'm just going on this like weird tangent or whatever bullshit. So let's say you're finding new employment, or you want to get rehired by the sheriff's station or whatever station, command central. You call it the central of the command, right? And your name is AJ Ziggy with an X, Human with a dash. So, like your vocational goal, I'm gonna go over that. You find new training. You want to be the next best recruit, maybe the CIA, maybe the FBI, maybe the FDA. For God, who knows what reason? You were ex farmer in a way, and you lived on a farm for some time, and you farmed. You're now a police cop, and your activity and duty is so sacramental. It becomes a reality and strategy all itself. And under new supervision, I find that you've been using drugs, and you indeed have a reality check of what is deemed real and not real in the situation. So the hypothesis here is, what technical skills, what training you might have. Say you have a lot of hope for your distinguishment, so you think you can do the next thing, but you're under review basically. You don't know what to do, and your name is AJ Ziggy Human. And this example comes back to, the best of this. Say you have an alcohol issue, a drug addiction issue, and you're acting aggressively, almost like a domestic violence case, right? And nobody really likes that, really. So let's say, you have so much you need to do. You have, therapy you have to go to. You have to see a psychiatrist, get reviewed. Somebody who's a counselor, you might say, this is what you got to do. This is, if you want to register, your work habit, you don't want it to go into review under the board of, not Social Security this time, more of the board of, advisory committee, kind of like that Looking Glass committee, but run by the state or the federal government, for police activity, policy, basically policy holders. So the reality, college level training you want, and everybody hears it, everybody can get it. It's normal stuff there. Say you're a counselor, you don't really know what to do. You're a caseworker, you don't really know what to do either. You have to ask, what are your needs right here? So you got to write those down. You got to do anything anybody else would want, right? You got to, put the notes in. You got to take the test. You got to be sincere about it, be honest about your issues, right? I would say it's the $250 billion boundary here, for the fires. One little mistake, say you didn't take the test about your vocational needs, and once, that might, you might go some problematic way. I'm saying? You don't know how to do information systems. It's basically PowerPoint. We're already talking about this. Or it's basically, write a little programming code to do a little programming code. All that, JavaScript thing. That's kind of framework of a business, right? Up until LF. If you know anything about LF, and if you know information systems, like I know information system, the LF system is different than the HF system, right? LF more open source. LF, what people go for. They still use that kind of technology today. This is democratic, right? And then the alternate, the HF system, kind of like in those RFID cards. Not like that. So it does have to do with self-identity. Say a bridge, for example, does it use LF or HF, RFID, NFC? None of it. So you look at the reality, why not LF if it's so democratic? Well, because we don't have the money, the investments. That's management information systems, right? But the reality there, some people are afraid of walking over bridges. So the reality there is, sign it off with an X. You double your notion of virtue of victory, right? Or you sign off with an O, and it's my self-image. Do I define the self-image? Does O explain to me? Does O tell me who I am? Does O tell me I breathe oxygen today? Am I on overstock.com? No, I'm not. And you might say, no, I don't. Just scratch it off. Does somebody come to you and say, like, you can't scratch that off? I don't know. Can I take a joke from somebody who's very tired? I probably could take a joke from somebody who's very tired. To be honest, I mean, the reality of the conversation of, like, you're filling out the vocational forms versus the reality of, like, you see somebody crying for hope. Like, would you say something? I probably would not know what to say to the conversation. Do you see a lot of people crying for hope? I don't. I literally do not see a lot of people, and I wouldn't know how to respond to the concept of someone crying for hope. The reality of that conversation would be, a concentration of, some sort of, activity that's an endearment, right? Those endearments in my life are, not separatist, they're not, illusionary, they're not impolite, they're maybe a little impolite. Sometimes it could be, but the reality is, causation of that vocational dimension, that hope. That strategy is a vocational concept, which is tied to your family, your friends. There's realities in that hope concentration. That hope principle in counseling is like other principles, right? The principle of hope might not be the strategy of bumping into somebody and saying, well, hey, you got to save the water, right? Or, hey, you can't leave the wheelchair behind you. You got to walk. Right. So what about the reality of, like, hey, I have hope. I have the reality of, Sigmund Freud on my side, and, I don't partake in any double victories. How about the reality of self-image then? And if you can't do it once, you can do it twice, but you can do it twice, but you can do it once. So it's kind of like an enacting. So in criminal justice, it might be the policy of interrogation. You might lead on to someone with a lie, exaggeration, and say, well, that's that, right? But the abrupt thinker, the vocational thinker, the counselor might think, well, I have to kind of make this person try. You know what I'm saying? I might have to make them figure out the reality of the sleight of hand, of, not the white paper. Say it's not the who made AJ Ziggy, who made that name, right? Or, who made the blackouts, who blacked out the paperwork for, needs more improvement or whatever, right? Who is the reality behind the reality, right? You're not the reality star because you listen to some reality star talk on TV, or you listen to the radio hit song or whatever. Not because you fill out the last form that may look sketchy or something, right? But the reality there is, AJ Ziggy, who are you? What is it you're trying to say? Be gentle, be kind, right? Be in the communication. Don't look through the looking bag, so to speak. If that's a true concept or not, I don't know. The Looking Glass Committee are real, right? The reality is, you could put it up and flag as many people as you want down. You could say as many horrible things you could say. You could have the first aid kit right there. You could have great reflex and reaction. You might have the boric acid that might be different colors, and it might be a child like, what is this? This is boric acid. Kind of like a construct of lithium chain, like the color red, or like spindling magnesium, kind of like in a jar of like iron or some other substrate metal, right? Or you might be like, oh, the toothpaste brand changed again today. And hello, knock on wood, we need a marketer, right? I don't have a business degree. I have a business concentration and associates. You want to take a look at my degree? It's within like 5 miles of a fucking country that believes in a fucking king. And like, can you imagine me like saying that on the radio? I bet you probably fucking could. So like, look at my degree. It's an associate degree, and basically fucking nothing. It says Associate of Arts in Liberal Studies with a thing that says Summa Cum Laude. So when you think of like, what the fuck is this? It's my head of hair. It's my degree in it, right? Is it dyed with iodine and like with alcohol and 100% pure isopropyl alcohol to clean the fucking shit off the fucking shit? Yeah, it is the fucking degree that is the shit, man. The reality of like what someone like who would say, impolite things in philosophy, right? And I have another degree with a pedigree in humanities philosophy, basically. A pedigree in a state that is inconclusive about the Civil War. in the United States. And is that bullshit? It's real in the United States. It's the first genetic degree we've ever had like that. So let me in the screen right now. So that'll be the end of the conversation.
That package is